people, and we're live. What's going on, everybody? You have found, I don't know if it's good or not for you, but you have found the mugs of the Pinwheels and Ivy podcast. We're going to be doing this live on YouTube. Basically, we're recording our podcast that you can find on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, everywhere and anywhere, but now you'll be able to watch it on YouTube if you got a thing for bearded guys in plaid shirts or stuff like that. Now I feel dirty. So we got a great show, jam-packed show for I'll say this is like our first official episode because this is like our first time having a guest.
Huge guest.
Big guest. Big get for the first episode. Very happy with it. Very happy with how it turned out because it turned out to be an awesome guy. But yeah, we're going to get started here. And I don't know. I don't really know what to do with my hands. Yeah, that's about it. What's going on, everybody? It is Friday, June 15th. You have found the Pinwheels and Ivy podcast. I am your host, Matt Zawoski. They call me Zoe. We are actually live on YouTube. So if you want from now on Thursday nights, if you're chilling around 8:30-ish and you want to see three dudes talk about baseball live, hop on YouTube. We'll be tweeting out the link and things of that nature. And if you want to watch it later on down the line, go ahead. Just know, ladies, married, guys, also married. With me, as always, are my two co-hosts. My guy, the producer, the mastermind behind all the videos there, Mr. Aldo Soto. What's going on, Aldo?
Did you almost forget my name right now?
No, I just it's weird. I'm live, dude.
He's just wondering whether to call you Magic Man.
Ooh. Yes. We'll leave that for a hobby. That's
And the other voice you're hearing, looking ever so dapper in his clear see-through glasses, our guy, Matt Anuko. They call him Nuke. What's going on, Nuke?
What's up? What's up? I'm trying to fall in love with bat flips.
We're going to get you, dude. I'm already on team bat flips.
I think I'm just salty because I never did a bat flip. I never got to do one.
I mean,
that's probably you're just jealous.
That was it. That was literally a 5-second psychology session, and that was a huge breakthrough, and it's all figured out now. But Aldo is the president and CEO of the Bat Flip Club. And Aldo, I have a theory.
Let's hear it.
You like bat flips, but you like how mad people get at bat flips.
I can't
more
deny
than bat
it.
flips.
That's true.
Yes.
The anger, the just
angst.
It just pump it into my blood. I love it.
It's phenomenal. And my favorite, I guess, on that note, I'm more of a fan of watching you bait these people into getting pissed off about bat flips than I am about it. I just sit there sometimes and I just read your replies on your tweets, and I'm just like, come on, guy, just fish face.
And for the White Sox fans listening, we have a special treat if you hate bat flips.
Then see, there it goes. That's why you're the king. So that's a good little intro. So we have a great show. We're going to talk a little bit about Mike Montgomery just deciding to pitch lights out all of a sudden. I mean, yeah, he's stepped up in a big way. And while he's doing that, the Cubs offense decided to go on a milk carton.
Okay, maybe. I'm not worried. I mean, we'll get into it.
We'll get into it. And then we got our stat of the week, which is going to deal with the ERA of both sides of towns. And then, drum roll, we have a fantastic interview with the director of amateur scouting for your Chicago White Sox. The man has been doing his job, and that's an understatement lately with the farm system they got going there. Mr. Nick Hostetler is going to join us. He gives us a solid about 25 minutes. Him and Nuke sit down. They talk about bat flips. They talk about the process at the recent MLB draft. They talk about Frank Sinatra. They talk about everything. It's a great interview. Get to know the guy behind the guys. And we're very excited to have Nick on. Nick was great. And yeah, you're going to want to listen to that. Even if you're a Cubs fan, it's just always cool to get inside the mind of a guy whose job it is to go out and find talent. And like I said to say he's been doing his job lately it's a little bit of an understatement. So
speaking as a Cubs fan, huge fan of Nick.
Yes. Yeah. Nick, if you're listening, which I know you will be, that is probably the highest compliment Aldo will ever pay anyone
I've blessed you
in the White Sox organization. Then we're gonna, after the interview, we'll bring it in with our weekly pickle, and it's a hell of a pickle. I might get a little passionate. I might say some things. Might cry. It has happened before. And we'll wrap it up like we always do with our final outs, our final thoughts. So with all that being said, very pumped up about the show. YouTube, we're live. Let's tap this keg. That was a dramatic pause.
This video is going to be great.
Yes. So let's dive in here to Mike Montgomery. So although this is something that I know you wanted to bring up, just with what he's been doing lately, I've been looking at the stats, a lot of one earned run performances for the Cubs. So why don't you bring people up to speed that might not know why you're so pumped about it?
So the direct opposite of what Cubs fans have been feeling for Mike Montgomery has been Yu Darvish, who was pretty bad his first 8 starts or so. Then he went on the DL. Everyone freaked out. They're like, he's going to have Tommy John surgery again. And luckily, that wasn't the case. But he's not going to be back for maybe before the All-Star game. We don't know that yet, though. But Montgomery has been filling in his 4 starts. He has a 1.14 ERA. But the bigger point here, which a lot of Cub fans since they traded for him in 2016 have been saying, why not just make Montgomery the 5th starter? You know, why go out there and pay Tyler Chatwood and his 1,000 walk rate, $38 million for 3 years? Because Montgomery, in his last 11 starts. So that's a third of a season for a starting pitcher. But in 11 starts, he has a 1.99 ERA. Sub 2, guys. That's Bob Gibson right there.
Bob Gibson?
I was waiting for Luke.
Sub 2. I mean, I'm not saying that Mike Montgomery is, because he could be better because he's not done pitching yet.
Okay.
Luke, anything to follow up?
Come on,
I
Luke.
like it. Bob Gibson?
I'm just saying he's been really great,
Chin
and
music.
that's something unfortunately that the Cubs don't do. That's Clint Hurdle, but it's been great. The Cubs would be. We're gonna get to the stat of the week later with the Cubs and the White Sox, but Mike Montgomery has been a savior.
In his last 3 games, he's gone 6 innings. He got touched up a little bit June 8th against Pittsburgh for 7 hits, but 2 hits against the Mets, 2 hits against the Brewers, 1 run, 1 earned run. He only walked 1 guy in each of those 3 starts.
And by the way, the other day he lost 1-0 to the Brewers.
Right, and look at you, Mr. Segway.
That's why you just hate the win-loss stat.
But the big thing here is he's eating innings, and with Darvish going down, like you said, they need it. I mean, there's no other way around it. He's stepping up.
You know who should be scared right now, and he probably is. We talked about him a little bit last week, but Tyler Chatwood has to be shaking in his boots right now. Because Darvish is he's had his troubles, but he's gonna be fine. I don't mind the near 5 ERA. He's gonna be fine. He's gonna come back. He's gonna be better than ever. Tyler Chatwood though is walking everyone left and right.
I'm pretty sure Tyler Chatwood walked me yesterday.
Somehow, this is another stupid weird stat. The other day he only walked 2 batters, but the Cubs lost 4-0. The Cubs are now 0-3 when Chatwood walks 2 batters or fewer, and they're 6-4. They're 6-4 when he walks 3 or more. So
I saw you tweet that.
That's silly. That's silly.
absolutely wild stat.
Obviously, I didn't look at all the numbers. Like, obviously, the Cubs could be like a couple of those ones were like the Cubs scored 0 runs for him, but I mean, I don't know. The Chief just must be getting more run support when he's walking 20 guys to start.
So when you comes back, honestly, I guess I'm obviously talking about him coming back healthy. What does this rotation look like for you?
Everyone's saying after those last start, because after the first, I think he made his first one. He went 6 innings. It was okay. I was like, oh, okay, good job filling in. And it was the second time. I was like, all right, building some momentum here. Thanks again for not having this rotation go up in flames.
Right.
The third start, and now this start. It's now 4 starts. It's not a fluke thing. And like how I said, the last 11 starts, it's 1.99 ERA. Bob Gibson. There's no way Maddon's going to take him out of the rotation.
Can't.
Stop with Bob Gibson.
So the question right now is: do the Cubs go with a 5-man rotation? Do they go to a 6-man rotation? Because there's no way you can kick out Montgomery the way he's pitching right now.
Is Chatwood a lefty?
He's not. He's a righty, and everyone's been saying like, "Oh, it's easy. Just send him to the minors." Can't do that. He has a major league contract. He has no options. He's not going to agree to ride the bus down in Iowa.
No, doesn't matter. Put him down. Put him down.
But he's not going to agree to it. He has no options.
No. I mean, like, put him on the bench.
Oh, and then there's the other thing of, well, just put him in the bullpen.
Well,
can't do that either with his like 9 walks per 9 innings. No, that would be a disaster in the bullpen.
No, you're not rolling him out in the 7th inning in a 1-1 game.
Exactly. So one of our writers, Patrick Mooney, not the Athletics Patrick Mooney, but Sports Mockeries Patrick Mooney.
Confusing.
Yes.
He actually suggested the other day before Chet would start, if this continues where he's not good, where it's pretty weird. He's either giving up a lot of hits and like no walks, or a lot of walks but no hits. But like either way, he's only pitching 4 to 5 innings to start.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, well, I mean, we're eventually going to see just like a made up injury. And, it's like, oh, we got back spasms for Tyler Chatwood. See ya.
Yeah, that's not uncommon.
Yeah.
That's the only thing, because that's really the only option the Cubs have, unless they go to a 6-man rotation.
Yeah, but don't you think Chatwood comes out and says that's bullshit? Now we're explicit.
The only thing, I guess, the only thing they could do is I think they did it a couple times last year too with Montgomery. Was they can piggyback a Chatwood start, like have him go, and then as soon as he is into trouble. You just bring in Montgomery,
right?
So like make that 5th or 6th pitcher like a Frankenstein. Like,
yeah, and it's something that Montgomery hated last year, and like he kind of talked about it during the offseason, how he'd be that piggyback guy. And he'd pitch like 3 innings, but then he'd be out for like 3 days, and then he'd come back, pitch an inning, be out a couple more days, and he's like, you guys have to give me a chance here. Like, I've proven that I can be a starter in my career. And he's gotten this chance now. And, I mean, it's going to be interesting. The Cubs have said, I think Maddon's talked about a 6-man, but he's like, I don't really want to do that.
That's what I was curious about. And I'll switch it over to you, Nuke. Now, as a guy on that bench, and I know, people talk and there's vibes and stuff, is there a big difference between the 5 and the 6-man rotation?
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's a full day. So your routines, it's really tough to switch to a 6-man rotation in the middle of a year. I mean, I think that's a very opinion-based, not necessarily science-based. I mean, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
More rest is good at a certain point in the season, of course. But it's a routine, and pitchers are habit-based. They like to know once they get in a cycle, right? Exactly. They're creatures of habit. So I see the smirk on your face. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, these are all interesting ways of kind of figuring out what happens, because although you're right, there's no way you get rid of Montgomery. Like he's Bob Gibson right now.
You can't shut down Bob Gibson. Come on.
No. But Chatwood is crazy bad right now. So, and what are you going to do? Are you going to put him in the bullpen? Who do you get rid of in the bullpen? do you need? Yeah, because Darvish is going to come back and he's going to take up a roster spot. So you do have a shift somewhere. The thing that you always have this idea where you have your long guy in the pen that could, like we have Chris Volstead with the White Sox. He's always the guy that we get into trouble in the third, fourth, fifth. You're just throwing him in there and let him go as long as he can. But like you said, with the piggyback, that's more of a mind screw than anything, because if Chatwood goes out and he knows, oh crap, if I don't get, if I walk two guys, what are you going to do? Pull me out in the second?
Yes.
That's well, but that sucks to be that player there. That's like, well, you can't play like that. And it's not fair to Montgomery to say, right, exactly. And it's not fair to Montgomery to say, well, we're just going to wait out and see, let Chatwood cook his own goose, which he really already has. So,
and in his defense, Montgomery's doing everything right. Yeah.
No, he's earned a spot. And this is like where there's a lot of like push and pull, like where you get frustrated as a player where the business side gets in the way, where it's like you can't send him down. He's got a big contract. There's a lot of moving parts to this, and it could be a PR nightmare if Chatwood gets a bug up his ass, and wants to and you do want to say, listen, wink, wink. I think your shoulder hurts. No, you don't feel that. You don't feel that, And he's like, no, that's bullshit, And of course, then you got real problems. So it's just
maybe the Cubs hire someone to kidnap Tyler Chatwood. Have him go away for a couple weeks.
I know people. But the other thing to the pitching rotation, a good pitching rotation needs run support. See what I did there?
Oh wow!
I see what you did.
Let's talk about these last 5 Cubs games. I cut like half of it off, so it's like a phantom. You know how when they say like when you lose a finger, like you still feel like I still feel like the beard. So the Cubs' last 5 games. So you had a 2-0 win in Pittsburgh, and then a 7-1 ass whooping, and then you went into Milwaukee, won 7-2. And then summer vacation started. 4-0 and 1-0 to the Milwaukee first place by a game and a half at the time of this recording, Milwaukee Brewers. It was also very funny for me as a guy who doesn't really have a horse in this race to watch the Brewers fans on Twitter like treat this as like they won the World Series of the universe. Like they just beat Thanos. They were so pumped, like, yeah, suck on that. 2 shutouts in a row, bitches. It's like, guys, it's June. Like,
before we get to the Cubs offense, like shout out to Kato Kalin. That guy,
boy.
That's right.
That guy is I know the Cubs have like a couple of celebrity fans, and like every team has one. But the Milwaukee Brewers have the best celebrity fan out there, and Kato Kalin. He treats every pitch like it's Game 7, like 9th inning, 3-2 pitch. Brewers are down 1. They have the bases loaded. That's how he treats every single pitch. It is amazing. He has, I think,
Greg Counsell, what are you doing?
Like everything is like the Brewers are shit. They're the general manager, the owners, the general manager, the Greg Counsell, the players. They strike out too much. They like. Chill out, man. Come on.
Well, hold on. I'm finding it. You can keep talking about it, but I'm going to read his last one.
But going to the Cubs, I was actually worried after the Sunday's loss to the Pirates when they lost 7-2 or something like that. And it reminded me of a stretch in late April and early May. They won, and it was funny because it was like right when they got back into first place too. They had won 5 in a row. The pitching was great. That's like when they shut out the Brewers 3 times at Wrigley Field, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
But the offense, like they were winning low scoring games, like 3-2, 2-0, 1-0. And then after their 5-game winning streak, they lost 5 in a row, and the offense was still struggling. Now this time around, they had a similar winning streak. I think they won like 5 of 6 or 4 or 5. But it was the same story. The pitching was doing well. The offense was scoring like 3-2 runs a game. And I was like, shit, I hope, it's a big week. I know it's the middle of June. It's not, doesn't mean that this
Right.
season's going to be over one way or another. But still, you're facing the second your second and third most feared competition in the Central with the Brewers and the Cardinals. And you're like, I mean, they can't really don't lose 5 in a row this time, boys. And the first game, they're getting shut down by Junior Guerra. They somehow get to Josh Hader. Then they explode in extra innings. They win. You're feeling pretty good. It's 7-2, and then back-to-back shutouts. And that Chris Bryant is in a brutal stretch. That happens to every player. It's just weird to see with him. His power numbers are way down.
It's a lot of games, and the big thing here though for Cubs fans to remember as you sit a game and a half back in Milwaukee
it's
right
June
now.
15.
It's June 15th. You're ranked sixth in batting average, 7th in total runs. It's not really that bad. 2 back-to-back shutouts to Milwaukee in the beginning of June. It's going to be okay.
The only concerning part is the power numbers are down. That's like the only thing. Contreras, he doesn't really have a lot of home runs. Bryant had like a one hot week in May. Since then, he hasn't hit a lot of home runs.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
Hold on. Sorry, guys. Real quick. I think we need to make this a segment. This is what Kato Kalin thinks. I think this is a new segment, by the way.
Kato Kalin's thought of the week? Tweet of the week?
Yes. June 11th at 11 o'clock at night.
Extra innings. That was the extra innings game.
Starts it out with a hashtag, bold strategy. So hashtag Cubs versus Milwaukee. I swear to G, I'm done with at Brewers. You're and yours you are. You're a shit team. Poop emoji, poop emoji. You will always be a shit team. Albers is a effing joke. Council you blow. Manager of the year? Question mark. People, he knows nothing. Goodbye effing forever. At Cubs own this team. Brewers deserve nothing and don't deserve my effing time. Suck forever.
That is every tweet after every Brewers loss.
And
since last year. Dating back to last year.
I can't wait to win an award for reading Kato Kalin tweets.
That was really good.
Thank you.
That was really good.
I wonder what his favorite swear word is.
There's a lot of effings, and he spells your UR, and B is just the letter B. It's a pretty spot on.
Who's G,
tweet.
by the way? I swear to G. Who's G?
That's a big G up. That's a capital G. That's God. That's a big G. Or
I
it
thought
could
he
be
was more
some
of a
guy named
Jesus
Jerry.
guy. I thought he was more of a Jesus guy.
Or maybe it's OJ. It's definitely not too soon.
Like I'm not even that old, but like I bet you're gonna feel like I'm pretty sure like 18-year-olds have no clue who the hell we're talking about.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, with Kato Kalin?
Yeah, they have no clue. I remember I put it up one time last year. Like one of the first comments was, "Who the hell's Kato?"
Oh my god.
It's like, come on, how do you know Caleb?
That does make me feel old.
I mean, you would think with the show on what was it?
It was, yeah. It was an FX show, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Fox,
I just remember he recently, like last year or two, did an interview on a very widely known sports podcast. And even those two guys who
they didn't release it for like 6 months.
It was terrible. It was so awkward and just brutal. And I know I'm ruining any chance of having Kato on this show, and that's okay.
Actually, no, open invite to Kato. We want next. I think the Cubs don't. I think they only have like 2 more series against the Brewers left. But the next one, Kato, open invite. We want you on to preview the next Cubs Brewers series.
Okay, fair enough. But Kato Kalin tweets is a weekly segment.
It's literally the same tweet. It's hilarious.
Yes, I know. Made it official. So sorry, getting back to baseball. So although as you expressed with the Cubs, the main concern is the power numbers are down. So
the power numbers are down. Oh.
Do you want to touch on just kind of what goes through a player's psyche, or like what could be affecting that? Is it a tweak in the swing? Is it just it's June, they play 100 and whatever games, just deal with it? Like, where's your head at with that?
Wait, before you get into it, Nuke, and a team with the Cubs, like they're obviously scoring a lot of runs, but for fans, the main frustration is that they go 1 week red hot to the next week can't score a run. Like it's the inconsistency that just kills Cubs
Oh,
fans.
of course. Yeah. No, we always said that hitting was contagious. And that's exactly what it is. I'm not diagnosing them, but that's that when you're on deck and you got a guy that, like, let's say you're facing Verlander, it's going to be a tough day. You're just hoping, like, like you're out there hoping you get one hit, or get a few good pitches, or you don't fall behind too fast, because then you're going to see the hammer and all that. So when you see a guy in front of you lace a single off of Verlander or off a guy dealing, that gives you confidence. That says, all right, if he can do it, I can do it. So a little bit of that competitive juice is going, and you get up there. By the same token, if a guy is just mowing through your lineup, you start to get a little worried. Like, oh,
I'm just gonna say mowing your lawn, because I like mowing your lawn better than mowing through
your lawn.
When that guy's out there just mowing your lawn, I like it.
Going to town. I get it. I can share it later, but what I was going to say to Nick Hostetler today that during the interview, but I just couldn't do it. It had to do with Nick Madrigal, so you can imagine what I was asking about, size. So luckily I didn't say it. I avoided it. Anyway, getting back to this, one thing that I was thinking about, as far as power goes, there's no contagiousness in power. Power is just kind of like something you have or you don't. That's why it's rare to see I'll go through a lineup and get a lot of back-to-back home runs. But I have a question. Again, I don't watch a lot of Cubs games, but Rizzo and Bryant, they seem to be catalysts in that lineup. If they're not going, I don't think there's much else in the lineup that you can look to and be like, okay, lead it. The best teams I've ever been on and played on, it was somebody new every day. It was a different person, different spot in the lineup, because in baseball, you can't give the ball to your best player with 2 seconds left and say, shoot the rock. You got, if the 9 hitters up, 9 hitters up. And if it's your last out, it's your last out. So you got to get it done. Not saying that there's that the Cubs have a bad lineup. They have a really good lineup, but at the same time, I do feel like, the heart and soul of that lineup is Bryant and Rizzo. And if they're going through a dry spell, it could be rough. I don't know what you
say.
That is pretty weird, because through the first month, Rizzo was out with 10 days with a back problem. He sucked in April. Like Adam Engel was hitting better than he was, and we all know how much he's been.
He's a stud. He bunts.
He's a stud at bunts. That's the worst thing you've ever said on this show.
That's worse than my Bob Gibson and Mike Montgomery.
That is actually worse than Bob Gibson. Terrible. He's a stud at bunts.
But since the Cubs got swept down in St. Louis, Rizzo's pretty much been the player he's always been. So he's been fine. So all the worries about him being bad, those were quickly answered. Bryant, I guess it's his turn to struggle. Just everyone needs to struggle now, apparently, for the Cubs. But as you said, that's the thing, though. Like, the Cubs do have different guys, because when Rizzo sucked in April, Baez was having the best month of his career. Albert Almora Jr. has been great. Jason Hayward he's an all-star player now. He's been on fire for the past 3 weeks. So, I mean, it's just
sometimes it just happens. Sometimes your lineup just goes into either a click. I mean, like we even see it with the White Sox. It was, how long, Zoe, were we sitting here for almost all of April and May, where it's the White Sox had the worst scoring percentage with runners in scoring position. Couldn't hit it all, But now we're 8-5 over the last 13 games. We're going on that stretch that I've been talking about.
Oh, you slow down, mister.
Here, before we get to the White Sox, because I know everyone's waiting for the White Sox talk, I want to end the whole Cubs offensive talk. It's they can't hit any home runs right now. They're not hitting for any power. But Javier Baez only hits for power, and I wrote a little story on him on Thursday, and how he could set a couple of records in 2018. And we briefly, Nuke, I think you saw it last week when we were looking at his stats when we were talking about All-Star voting. He walked one more time against the Brewers. He has 8 walks on the season. He could That's like in 260 at bats or something, or plate appearances. Just hilarious.
You don't walk off the island. That's what they
But
say.
he can become like the sixth player to have more unintentional walks than regular walks. Right now he's at 4 to 4. So
Really?
that's hilarious.
That is awesome.
Like, it's so low. One of them was Barry Bonds in that 2004 year. He had 120 intentional walks and
Is that the year he got
112.
walked with bases loaded?
my God.
Probably.
Yeah, you
All right,
guys
but
don't
that year-
remember that?
Yeah,
I know.
against Arizona.
Yeah. Buck Showalter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
You walked
better,
him with bases
better let
loaded.
him better
It worked.
take 1 than 4.
It worked. They got
At
the
that
next
point,
guy
that
hit
was
like a
gonna
fly
happen.
ball.
Yep. You don't
then-
walk off the island.
And then the other stat, the home run to walk ratio, the highest ever is 1.82 by Dante Bichette, Colorado Rockies, 1995.
Dante the God.
In that year, he hit 40 home runs and he only walked 22 times.
Damn.
Oh my goodness.
That was that's a 1.82 home run to walk ratio. Baez right now is at 1.75 with his 14 home runs. And
You combine Dante's Bichette's mullet with the fact that chicks dig the long ball, he just plowed that year. That is a lethal combination.
What year was that? 98, you
Doesn't
said?
matter.
95.
95.
So it was 95. So how many years ago was that?
Oh
That
my-
was 20,
13.
Peak
13
steroid
years
era.
13 years ago. So there's an abundance of 8th grade and freshmen in high school running around the Colorado area because
Named
of
Dante.
that flowing mullet and that home run to walk ratio. It's just that's just not fair. Oh boy.
Actually, one last thing with that Baez, the home run to walk ratio, 3 of those guys, because there's 3 out of the top 5 ratios, have finished in the top 3 in MVP voting. And one of them was Andre Dawson, who won the 87 MVP with the Cubs.
Love the
And he
heart.
had like 49 home runs and like 30 walks or something like that.
Big Andre Dawson guy over here.
So yeah.
Big Andre Dawson, Mark Grace pre DUIs. But yeah, Mark Grace was my dude. Any guy
Although-
that rips a pack of Marlboro Reds in the dugout during a professional baseball game.
Oh,
What's
that
up,
was
Nick?
common. John Kruk used to do that.
I'm
Oh,
correct
no,
in
he
a lot
would
of
do it
things.
in there. Yeah. Although that was like some Chris Comka type stuff, man.
Oh, by the way, this is all a shout out to, I don't know, it was like an MLB.
Really?
I am with you.
I was gonna think that's some good research right there.
Doesn't matter.
Shout out. I think his name's Andrew Simon. Andrew Simon. So
Yeah. I
check
know
him
what you're
out.
talking about.
Great stuff.
Yep. So before we jump into our interview with Nick Hostetler, it's our stat of the week. It's a good
Mhm.
one. Positive stat of the week for both sides of town. So the lowest ERAs in the month of June. This stat comes to you courtesy of the very talented, big fan of his work, Mr. Chuck Garfine.
Good tan.
So lowest ERAs in the month of June. The Yankees, number 1 with a 2.14 ERA. The Cubs with a 2.63 ERA. And then the White Sox with a 2.68 ERA. So you got both sides. Yeah, you can explode that line a little bit there, because that's a pretty. You would not expect that, especially out of that White Sox rotation. And the way the Cubs rotation started the season, you would not expect this stat either.
Guys, I wanted to bring this guy up to you because I think I saw that he gave up like 20 home runs and a ridiculously low amount of innings last year. But when did Dylan Covey become
Dylan Covey, I knew
almost
that
as
was
good
coming.
as Mike Montgomery?
Oh yeah, I got my
Hey,
finger going here for Dylan Covey. Dylan Covey's balls dropped. It's a-
Whoa.
Yeah, he is not scared to go after batters anymore. He said that exact sentence in an interview. They asked
Did he
him, like,
say
what's
my
wrong?
balls dropped?
challenge him.
No, that's the Zoe difference.
It's a
But
change up really dropping.
But Nuke, would you agree? He's going at dudes now. He's not trying to
I mean,
be
what
cute.
has he got to lose? That's the whole thing, and I'm glad he did it. And I even put out a tweet that somehow got a lot of traction. It was like, it was kind of sarcastic, but it was right. I mean, oh my God, a pitcher not afraid to challenge hitters.
Yes.
like 2-0, you get cute. A lot of pitchers are getting cute, nibbling on the corners, throwing off speed pitches. And I get it. Hitters are dangerous in the major leagues, but at the same time, challenge. Don't be afraid of your fastball,
In his 6 starts, he's 3-1 with 9 earned runs given up. He's 33 strikeouts to 11 walks, 35 innings pitched with a 2.29 ERA.
Let's not go off the reservation yet.
I'm just saying he's so much better than he was last year.
He's doing really well.
Excited.
But
How many starts has it been that he's been great?
Well,
6, right?
He's started 6 games this year.
That's pretty good. All right. So by Mike Montgomery standards, he's
he's
almost twice as good as Mike Montgomery. That makes him 2 Bob Gibsons.
No, Mike Montgomery is the last 11. Nuke, come on.
Although that's
give him some respect.
We do not. We obey math on this show, and that was math, and that was good math. So
here was the stat. Last year, in 70 innings, he gave up.
He was
20
rough
home runs
last year.
Oh, he's brutal.
And I mean, like everything was up in the zone. He got behind hitters. He didn't have any kind of additional secondary stuff. I mean, he was bad. I got frustrated with him almost to the point of like Derek Holland frustrated. But so I mean, I'm glad he's doing well. And you know what? Good for him. I mean, he was actually a former first-round pick.
I'm pumped he's doing well.
And of course. And I'm saying this only looking at the numbers. I haven't been able to see him pitch too much. So I'm not able to see what his pitches are doing, whether he's getting extra movement late life, he's throwing a bowling ball up there or anything like that. But ride it. What do you guys, good for him. This is part of that mental game where he's got to say, I got nothing to lose. I got a great opportunity in front of me and I'm just going to deal. I'm going to challenge hitters. I'm going to say, I dare you to hit it. And if it all goes well as it is right now, great, fantastic. He's earned himself a little bit more leash. And he can come back and say, all right, now I have to adjust because guys are jumping on my fastball early. Now I got to show that secondary pitch. I got to go to the changeup. I think it was. I think he was throwing a lot of changeups.
Yeah, it was.
So, and that's the perfect combination because you want that fastball change. That change of speeds is all you need. So if you don't have good bite on your curveball, learn how to, manipulate your fastball enough. What's his name? Roy Halladay used to do it. I used to be in like absolute amazement with Roy Halladay. He could throw a fastball 3 different ways and never have to throw anything else for 7 innings because he would cut it, he would run it, and he would sink it. And literally, you don't have to throw a changeup. You don't have to change speeds. Only if you can let those pitches dance from the center of the zone, out, in, and down. That's it.
I have a good question for you guys. Shout out to myself. You
I love it.
Pick one guy. Pick one of these 2 guys going forward. Who has a better career?
I know what you're gonna do right now.
Or do you? Either with the White Sox or just in baseball. Who has it figured out from now until whenever they hang it up? Dylan Covey or Carson Fulmer.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go Carlos Rodon.
Oh no! Come on, Carlos deserves a lot more respect. Carlos has actually accomplished some things.
Oh goodness!
Covey versus Fulmer. Who you got?
I mean,
here's
all
what I hope.
Recency bias. It's Covey in a layup. But
oh my god, yeah. I mean, Fulmer's unraveling.
Oh, I saw your tweet the other day, Nuke, about one of his outings. He was pretty bad.
I mean, it's strange. I mean, he just can't. Yeah, that tweet was like, I think his last outing, he gave up 4 earned, 5 total runs, but I think 3 of those runs or 4 of those runs came on like 2 2-run home runs. So it's kind of misleading. It wasn't like it was just like getting knocked around the park, but he gave up a lot of hits. His whip, I think, is like something ridiculous. It's just he's pitching basically with like 1.5, 2 runners on at all times.
Yeah.
All right,
and you can't win that way.
We gotta get to this interview that you did. Covey or Fulmer?
You got to go Covey.
All right, I'm going Covey too. I don't think Fulmer sniffs the major leagues until
ever again.
I don't think until he goes to another. He's going to go to another team. He's a perfect trade candidate. I don't think he even
Sox got too much coming up too. Yeah, I think Fulmer had a shot. He blew it. I think he's done in Chicago.
Yeah. And I hope he has a great career somewhere else.
You heard it here first, Carson.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yep.
If you'd like to come on the show and discuss, please
get the angry tweets back. You don't know what you're talking about.
So with that, actually, talking about what the White Sox have coming up. We're killing segues this week. Let's go into our interview here with Nick Hostetler. He, again, is the director of amateur scouting for the Chicago White Sox. Dude has been handling his business. And then with the recent MLB draft where they drafted a giant that Nuke loves.
5'7" giant.
He talks about that. He's going to be talking about Frank Sinatra, and yes, although he talks about backflips. So make sure you follow him at Nick Hostetler. With all that being said, here's Nick.
You can put it on the board, yeah! Congratulations on another draft, a successful one.
Thank you.
And so, of course, what every White Sox fan is going crazy over is that number 1 overall pick. It seems like that was exactly what the White Sox were looking for. Did you expect Nick Madrigal to be there at the 4th pick?
I think as we progress through, I'll say this: at the start of the process back last June, I think we had no idea where we were going to pick at that point, but I think we had a pretty good sense of kind of who the guys and who the group was. He was in that group, and we kind of felt that, with his size and maybe his tool set, that I wasn't overly concerned. He'd probably be an option for us wherever we picked. As the season progressed, he started off like a ball of fire in Arizona. I don't think anybody could get him out. I started at that point going, we might want to consider this guy a little bit higher on our list. And after he had the injury, came back from the injury, I felt at that point there was a pretty good sense that he was going to kind of get near us at 4. As the draft process started, really the week before the draft, and everybody started bantering back and forth with rumors, we started hearing there was a couple teams in front of us that might have some interest. And then as I got to the night before, I really felt that there was a chance that Philly could take him. So we were prepared with our backup options. I think at that point, we had our board ranked, and we knew which order we liked the main 6 or 7 guys in it. And, Nick was one of those ones that was near the top of that. I think, obviously, the Casey Mize situation was special, and he's got a chance to be pretty special. So, we were discussing all those guys back and forth. And as it got to the point where we were getting ready to pick, it was San Francisco had just made their pick, and Philly was making theirs. We still did not know if Philly was going to go Bohm or Madrigal. We knew they were going to take one of the two. We just didn't know which one. Matt Klentak reached out to Rick Hahn, let him know it was going to be Bohm. So really, to be honest with you, probably about maybe 4 minutes before we picked is when I knew Madrigal was going to be available.
That's really cool. So that's a glimpse into like Klentak giving Hahn a call. Is that typical? Is that kind of like a courtesy?
Yeah, a little bit. You kind of want to help the guy out behind you, just let them know so they can have a few more minutes to prepare if need be. I think we're all in this together, and we see each other on the road so much. We're traveling together. The Detroit scouting director reached out to me after he had made his decision, which way he was going to go before it was announced. And it's what guys just kind of do to help each other out. And, you usually don't give up too much prior to that, but once the decision's made and the direction you're going, right before the pick's made, it might give you an extra minute or two to kind of work on some other stuff.
Right, of course, because many people may not know this, and I don't know if this actually happens in the first round as much as it does in later rounds, but typically scouts kind of get in touch with players here and there to get a feel for their signability, where they think, whether they think they're going to sign or not. I don't know if that happens in the first round. Is that kind of what you're talking about there?
Yeah, you know that all too well, don't you?
Well, very small. They didn't call me.
Not so much in the first round. Usually in the first round, you have a pretty good sense of what's going on, and that's taken care of a few days beforehand. But after that, it's really you kind of roll with it and make phone calls as it goes, and you've got 3 or 4 different phones working at once, seeing what this guy wants and what this guy wants, and where do we have him on this board. So yeah, it can get pretty hectic. Pretty much starting in the second round on, it starts flying pretty quick.
Yeah. So let's talk about Nick a little bit. Now, he seems to fit the whole kind of model of what you guys are moving to, like a polished hitter, guy that controls the zone, patient, good contact hitter. And I've watched some video on him, and he's a baller. Great swing. So what's he gonna, as far as defensively, he's also very polished as well. So what's he gonna really have to work on, you think, in the next year, 2 years, 3 years as he works his way through the minors?
I think first and foremost, just getting his feet wet with the wood and, using that and getting the feel of that first and foremost. I think, he has some of that with Team USA. He's played with that. He played some wood bat summer leagues up in the Northwest earlier in his career. So he hits with wood. He gets it. But just that feel of that first and foremost. I think offensively for Nick, I think he's going to have to continue to use off fields. Some of those pitches, maybe some of those middle end pitches, instead of letting them travel so deep, maybe hit the ball out in front of the plate and try to drive them a little bit. Just some little things like that could help him and develop offensively with maybe some more doubles and things along those lines. But and then defensively, I think the big thing with him defensively is just getting to a point where he's comfortable playing shortstop again. He hasn't been over there in a little bit. But when we did see him over there in the past, we were very, very excited about it. It's an extremely quick release from the throwing portion of it. So while the arm strength isn't it's not a cannon, it's not a 70 arm grade or anything like that, his release really does make up for the fact that it's not as strong of an arm as what some have over there. So, I think that plays into it, timing, and just getting overall reps at a different position.
Yeah. All right. So I got one more question about Madrigal, and it's going to be a shocker. I mean, he's 5'7", and again, I have a little experience in this, and you kind of look a little bit at like 6 foot, 6'3". You look at projectability, size, putting some weight on. The body being able to handle the grind. I think I know the answer to this already, but are you at all concerned about being 5'7" and handling a 162 game schedule?
I'm not. I look at him and the way that he's built. Excuse me. He's such a strong kid. There's his lower half, his legs. He came back after the wrist injury and was just. He is some kind of put together, and he had gotten stronger. So I think that his base is strong, his core is strong, and I'm not overly concerned about it. I think that. One of the things with a guy like that, I've been asked that question a lot. And my main comment usually is I'd rather a 5'7" guy that's really good and has his tool set than a 6'3" guy that stinks. So, we joke about it, but I don't, I'm not worried about the overall ability to handle the amount of games just because I think he takes care of himself. He's very dialed into nutrition and workouts, and he loves to work out. So, I think that it's a little bit less room to worry about getting injured.
There you go. So, all right. So one of the things about Major League Baseball drafts is they have so many more rounds than the other professional sports. So I think it gets lost, with the value deeper in the draft. And one guy that stuck out to me because I feel like left-handed pitching is a thing that I feel like the system is missing a little bit, and I could totally be wrong, but, us bloggers, we tend to look at the top 30 and the top 10s and all that and just ignore everything else. So Connor Pilkington, I had a conversation with Gary Henderson from Mississippi State, and he kind of gave me a really nice scouting report, and it was a guy that seemed to could have been like a first round, maybe even as high as a top 10 pick, if he didn't go through some tribulations this year with his command and, not showing development in a secondary pitch. How do you evaluate him and kind of the need for left-handed pitching in the organization?
I think you're right on the fact that need for left-handed pitching in the organization. I think any pitching, for any organization is needed just because you just don't know how many of them. Now, that doesn't automatically mean that should be your first round target or your second round target or anything like that. It's just, I think the draft, as you put it, the draft is so deep and these big leaguers come from so many different parts that, you can load up in the middle rounds on pitching and have just as good a shot of getting a mid-rotation, frontline rotation as you do picking a guy in the first. So, Connor was a guy coming into the year that we had high grades on from Team USA. We liked the track record. We liked his ability to throw strikes. The stuff was premium last summer. He started out the season through really, really well at the Minute Maid tournament, where Nathan Durst, our national cross-checker, saw him and really liked him. Thought he should be a guy we still need to keep our eye on and keep watching and send more guys in to see. So we did that. And yeah, he kind of hit he hit a little rust patch there where it started to spiral on him, I think. And, the one thing about him is that he's a big, strong kid with the ability to throw strikes. And for me, with the stuff wavering back and forth, that's the one thing. If you can still throw strikes, you still can command the fastball, and have a feel for a breaking ball like he does, you're going to be able to survive without your best stuff on certain days. A lot of this in these college guys, I read a lot about a lot of the college coaches and some of the guys saying that, you can't replace this in pro ball and you can't do that. You don't get this feeling of the World Series. And they're right. The atmosphere is great, but it's also very taxing on these kids. These kids have started throwing, some of them throwing, they threw last summer, they threw in the fall, they started throwing this January, they're still throwing. And that doesn't happen in pro baseball. So, there are breaks that are needed. And I think Connor's a guy that once his season's done, I was actually looking at the College World Series bracket, and it looks like there's a chance that if both Oregon State and Mississippi State win or lose on Saturday, Pilkington will pitch against Madrigal on Monday. So that'll be a fun one to watch for fans, not so much for me. But I think that Connor needs a break. I think he needs a physical and a mental break from pitching a little bit. And I think once they're done and their season's over and we get him signed and in our system, I expect Yefty and the staff to go slow with him, give him some outings here or there that are short, just to get his feet wet. But he needs a bit of a break from throwing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, again, that's something that's lost on a lot of fans is that whole, college players really only get about 2 months off, and it's not even off because you're in the weight room the whole time because of that fall season. Then you jump right into the spring in January. So yeah, I listened to the NCAA's regulation on hours and all of that, and I'm like, yeah, right, sure. No, that's not happening. It's like, what do they used to call it? We used to call it mandatory voluntary practice. Exactly right. That's exactly what it is. You don't have to show up, but you better. Yeah. These guys need a break, and this isn't. That's the one thing about professional baseball. These guys will show up in the end of February, first part of March, the minor leaguers, as far as spring training goes, and they're done in first week of September, so it gives them a chance to breathe and recuperate a little bit. Absolutely. All right, so another guy that kind of popped out, immediately became a little bit of a Twitter sensation, was Lency Delgado. Guy has like an 80 grade bat flip. But he's like he's the opposite, or on the opposite end of the spectrum of projectability of Nick Madrigal, where you have a 6'3" frame, 200 some pounds, young kid, lots of room to grow. He's kind of that high ceiling, I guess counterbalance to Madrigal, where you're getting that polished player. Can you give us a quick, what do you like most about Lency? And I see that he signed, so he's coming. What do White Sox fans have to look forward to with him? Yeah, Lency's been out in Arizona now. I think he signed on Saturday, I think it was. He signed his contract and got his physical. So he's been playing. I got a text from Chris Getz the other day that said that Delgado and Maldonado were a ton of fun to watch in infield and shortstop. So sounded like they were doing well. So that was good to hear. But Lency he's a kid that his father still lives in Cuba. He lives with his mother and grandmother in Miami. And he's only been over here in the States for a couple years, and he's still kind of learning the culture and language a little bit. So there's going to be some development there as well. But this kid's a big, strong kid with premium power. He can hit a ball as far as anybody, and not to mention his arm strength. His arm strength is 70 at shortstop. He can flat out throw. There's going to be at times he'll have some swing and miss like most of these high school kids will. It's in there and it'll get worked out. But, he's a good athlete for as big as he is. And he's actually somewhat deceiving with that. You look at him and you think, automatically he's going to have to start and go right over to third. He can stay at shortstop for a little while, but ultimately I think he ends up at third. But he'll play his way in the minor leagues and the lower levels at short, but that power is going to carry him a long way. Absolutely, and something that came to mind with me was some insight into the scouting process. And when you go and watch a guy, and let's say Delgado goes 4 for 4 with 2 bombs and 2 doubles, and he's flipping bats and having a great day. does that kind of flair ever kind of, factor into your analysis of him? Because, as many people say, baseball doesn't like fun. So, does that ever kind of creep into your, like he could be a fourth round talent, but I just don't know if the makeup's there?
I'll be quite honest with you. I'm the other way on it. I actually love the fact that they show some emotion. Football, I'm a big football fan. Basketball is probably my second favorite sport behind baseball. There is nothing better for me than watching a guy score a touchdown and dance, or a guy dunking on a guy and waving his finger, or, stare down something like that. I absolutely love it. I love the gamesmanship within the game. I love the emotion. I think for the most part, Matt, I like the fact that guys show their human side. They're not robots. And I think too much in baseball, we've gotten to a point where we want them to be robots. We want them to go out and they have to dress a certain way, facial hair a certain way. They have to hit a home run and run a certain way, or pitch a certain, can't throw behind a guy. I'm the hell with all that. Like, let's go out and have some fun with the game. And this is a game of emotion. If you hit a home run and it goes 450 feet, albeit flip the bat, have some fun with it. I think Steele Walker's a perfect example of that. I mean, excuse me, once our fans watch Steele Walker, trust me, they'll understand that I like guys with flair. I just think, for me, there's entertainment value in it. If I'm a kid, I've got a 7-year-old son. There is nothing worse than going to a baseball game, sitting with my 7-year-old son, and watching just a game where nothing happens. It's a 1-0 game. It's boring. He walks out of there. He's not excited. I took him to a Cincinnati Reds Pittsburgh Pirates game about 3 or 4 years ago. And it may not even been that long. It was probably 2 years ago. Then there was a fight. That's all he talks about is the fight at the baseball game. So, we're trying to get more young kids involved in the game, and we're trying to make the game entertaining. You know what? If a pitcher and I pitched, I'd get upset if a guy flipped the bat, but so be it. I shouldn't have thrown the ball down the middle where he could hit it 400 feet. That's on me. So I actually like it. I like it when a pitcher strikes out a guy and he chirps at him. I enjoy it. I think it's great for the game, and it doesn't turn me off a bit.
Nice. All right. Yeah. You know what? The guys on the podcast get me all the time because I'm a little stodgy. I'm like, oh yeah, the unwritten rules and all that. So anyway, let's switch gears for a minute. Let's get off the draft and just kind of talk broadly about the past draft. So I was curious, who was your favorite prospect of all time that never made it to the big leagues?
Oh man, the favorite one that never made it. That I've drafted?
Yeah.
Or somebody I've seen? You know who it was? It was when I was an area scout, and it was 2004. It was 2004 draft. We took Tyler Lumsden, the White Sox did, who was a left-handed pitcher out of Clemson. And I loved the pure stuff of Tyler. It was left-handed, it was power. And he got to AAA, ended up getting traded to the Royals, and ended up getting a contract over, and I think it was Korea, and had a really nice career over there. But Tyler Lumsden was a guy that I really thought was going to be a premium power left-hander. That it just he did have an injury, he had an elbow. I'm not positive if it was Tommy John or not. I think he did. So that kind of set him back a little bit. But he was the one that, man, I really, really thought he was going to be a stud.
One that keeps you awake at night sometimes, right?
It does.
All right, so this follows in that vein a little bit. Who was the player you had to lobby for hardest with Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams to draft?
Oh, that's you know what? They're actually really good on that. If all of our guys and myself feel strongly about a guy, they pretty much let us do what we want to do. Rick's awesome with that. He knows that he's put us in these roles that he feels comfortable that we can do the job, so he's good about it. Kenny the same way when we talk about things. We have probably more detailed discussions with Kenny, but he's good with it. But I'll say this, I'm not necessarily sure about those two guys, but the guy I fought for the hardest in the room that we finally ended up taking, and I wanted him like 2 rounds earlier, was Daniel Hudson in 2008. I fell in love. I saw Daniel Hudson throw a game, fell in love with him, and just wanted him in the worst way. And I just over and over and over again, I kept Daniel Hudson. We got to take Hudson. We have to take Hudson. And finally, I think just to shut me up, they decided to take Hudson. But yeah, most recently, you know, Kenny and Rick they've been really good about just letting me run the staff, letting our staff make the picks. They've been good about that.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to finish up kind of rapid fire with 4 questions, kind of like trivia stuff. And it kind of deals with the road and what, you know, scouts are always on the road. They're hardly ever home. Their second home is their car, right?
I'm sitting in one right now in Cape Cod.
Well, at least you're on the Cape.
Exactly.
So what's your favorite city to scout in?
San Diego.
Okay.
San Diego.
What is your, for obvious reasons, right?
Yes.
What's your favorite song to listen to in the car on the way to the field?
Oh, man. Favorite song is probably, it's either 2. I listen to Frank Sinatra, My Way, a decent amount.
Okay.
Or the other one is probably, man, that's a good question. There's so many that I listen to because I just did it on repeat. Sinatra was actually just the last one that was on my phone.
Okay.
So that one, while it was John Phelps. And the other one's probably, man, I'd probably say it's more of a recent one. That's a tough one.
Any superstitious ties?
Not really. Not while I'm scouting.
Okay.
Now, before the draft, there is. I'm crazy
Okay.
superstitious before the draft. I've watched the movie Draft Day the last 3 years. The night before, listen to music. Sit there, listen to music in section 150 about an hour and a half before the draft. I wear clothes are the same or not the same. I changed that up.
Okay.
I do drive to the ballpark the same route, and it's not my normal route driving to the ballpark from the hotel. So that changed. That stays the same. It takes me through Chinatown there in Chicago. So it's more back roads, but I do that one the same. But that's probably my most superstitious. And listening to the great Brooks Boyer, who comes in and gives us his opinion on the draft. That's superstitious.
Awesome. All right. Now, on the road, what's your favorite meal?
You look at me, you can tell it's not a salad. I'm a pizza guy. I love pizza. Every part of pizza. I was up here last night, and one of our scouts, Adam Burgess, and I, after the game, and Wareham, stopped at a little pizza joint called Mark Anthony's in Onset Beach, and love a good pizza. Nothing better than that.
Favorite drink?
I'm a Diet Coke guy.
Okay. Biggest pet peeve of hotels on the road?
I only get one. No, probably my biggest pet peeve is internet. If the internet's spotty, I get frustrated with that a lot. There's some hotels that we stay in the middle of nowhere that I'm sure that it'd probably be better if we had the AOL dial-up back in the. There you go. Wireless.
Just hardwire it.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last question: what's your strangest scouting experience you've ever had?
Oh, wow. Strangest one.
Besides parents running up to you, noticing that you're wearing a White Sox shirt and you have a herd of people following you.
I've had that. Strangest one, it's probably, I'm trying to think that it would be, man, that's a good one because there's been so many little weird things that happen. You know what? Probably the strangest and one of the oddest ones I've ever had was I had a chance to watch. It was a high school game in Mississippi. It was Tyquan Forbes, who we actually now have, matching up against Bobby Bradley, and it was who the Indians drafted. It was and they played it at a junior college down in southern Mississippi, and it was, I want to say it was late March maybe. And we all show up and fully expect the weather to be good and everything, and a thunderstorm moved through. And I'm not kidding you when I tell you it was probably the coldest day of my life, to the point where there's the moisture off the ocean, off the Gulf was going on, and it's so cold, and to the point where the entire scouting community was huddled in the press box trying to watch the game to stay warm. But the problem was that the press box windows kept steaming up because we were in there. So we're trying to keep them clean, trying to wash them off. It wasn't happening. So like half of us were just like, you know what, we need to get out of here. This is ridiculous. Watch the kids hit one more time and it's going to be over. and both of them came up. Both of them hit home runs, and it ended up going extra innings. I think we ended up staying. I want to say we stayed till the 10th is when it was over. But it was so odd and strange how in southern Mississippi it could have been the coldest day of my scouting career was there.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for taking the time. I stole a half hour from you.
You're good, man. Anytime at all.
All right. I appreciate it, and take care. Have fun on the Cape.
Sounds great. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
That was fun.
Thanks again, Nick, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Again, follow him on Twitter at Nick Hostetler. Great Twitter follow, just overall great guy. And like I said, he is very much part of the lifeblood that is bringing this rebuild to the South Side. I mean, he's the director of amateur scouting. So
And now a member of a Team Bat Flip. Take that, Nuke.
And Nick, I can't speak for my co-host Nick, but I'm going to go ahead and just take the lead on this. If you want to put on your Twitter bio that you were the first guest ever on Pinwheels and Ivy, we'll allow that. We'll allow that. You can go ahead, maybe put it on the resume. I don't know.
We have to send him a shirt now.
Yeah,
it's a full endorse. Yeah.
Yes, we'll send you. A shirt because those exist. So we'll send you something. We'll get you something.
Just a random white T-shirt.
Yeah.
Like
Sharpie SM on it.
Yep. Pinwheels and Ivy first guest.
It's just like our illustration of the pin. It's not even the actual logo. Like we try to sketch it out.
Should we autograph it?
Oh,
yes. Definitely. In a
Probably
$7
all across the back. No, it should be like one of those shirts that you can like buy at a mall, like where you do like a memorial, like you
airbrush.
Airbrush it.
Yep.
Just all three of our faces with Nick.
There'll be like sun coming out of people's heads.
It's not creepy at all. All three of our faces and Nick in the power G pose. All of us squatting down with the prayer hands.
First guess.
Nick.
But seriously, thanks, Nick.
Yes, thank you very much, Nick. Awesome interview. Love to have you on again. Open invite. We'll even bump Cato Kalin for you.
I don't know.
So let's get into our weekly pickle. Might have to get loose for this one.
Oh boy.
So Father Time, he actually might be. I'm not sure. But Bruce Levine. No, Bruce. Spruce. I actually
Bruce is Father Time. I get it.
Yeah, Bruce is God bless him, still going. Good for you, Bruce. I'm actually jealous. I hope I'm doing what Bruce is doing.
It's a little spicy too.
Yeah. He put it out there, the idea that the White Sox should do the right thing by Jose Abreu, and what that means, trading him to a contender. I'll realize by listening to the show, I am a big Jose Abreu fan. Love the elephant. So SM right away, we put out a kind of a rebuttal on why that shouldn't happen. I might have had something to do with that. I didn't write the article, but so there was actually, yeah, basically there was a mixed bag of replies to the tweet. A lot of people I felt like were on my side of things. I know where I stand on it, but we're coming up on time here and things of that nature. So, Nuke, why don't you start it out on where you think? Then we'll go to Aldo, and I'll try to capitalize my emotions, and I'll give my spin on it. But Nuke, go ahead, bud.
No.
That was my answer on Twitter.
Wow.
No. Yeah, it's like Tracy Morgan gif right now, right? No. No. I don't know what else to say. I mean, if the White Sox really wanted to, now's the time to trade him, because it's the trade deadline is coming up and he's raking. He's having probably one of his best years, if not his best. So his value is high. He's only got, I think, 2 years left on his He opted out of his contract, so I think he's got 2 years left of arbitration. But no, I mean, if by that logic, then the Angels should be forced to trade Mike Trout.
Yep.
I mean, so no.
Abreu for Trout, who says no?
And I just found out through my conversation, as you heard today on with Nick Hostetler, that Lency Delgado, the 4th round pick for the White Sox, is a Cuban native, and he's living away. I think his dad still lives in Cuba, and he lives here with his mom and a sister or something. But he's still very much Cuban, and even today, Cuban in the sense like he's still learning the language. He doesn't speak
Sorry,
English.
that came off pretty funny. Like it didn't wear off.
That was my Ozzy moment. That was my Ozzy moment. No, that's what I mean. I mean, he's still learning how to, speak English, and
like
he's adjusting. And today, Moncada and Anderson both had a break. In Rick Renteria's post game presser, he talked about a conversation that he had with the two of them. And we talked about it on the last show. Tim Anderson and Moncada just kind of pressing a little bit, being a little young, or maybe it was another radio show I was on, but just kind of the learning how to.
Did we just get big time?
I did. I went big time. I'm an award-winning journalist.
Yes. Almost made it a whole show without mentioning that.
Usually it's my intro. It's a very small category, and I may or may not have been the only submission.
That is news to me.
Anyway, I'll wrap this up here. Put a cap on it, man. Come on. Anyway, don't trade Abreu. Just no.
Fair enough. Although, as a Cubs fan, looking down, because it's geography, you're not because you're higher up, but looking down on the south side of Chicago, what do you think about that? I'm curious here.
Well, here's the thing. I just have one question for you guys. When are the White Sox when's it gonna be their first year that they're gonna compete for a World Series?
I mean, it's supposed to be 2019.
2020.
I think 2020 is the first realistic.
And that's if all goes right with no injuries.
Okay.
Right.
Do you guys know what year Jose Abreu is going to be a free agent?
2020.
I think the biggest thing that White Sox fans freaked out. Of course, you love Abreu. He's the best player of the team. He's been here for 5 years now, 4 years, whatever it is.
Yeah, 5. He's in his 5th year.
Mm-hmm. The idea that Bruce Levine brought up, it wasn't so much you just make a trade to make a trade. That would be foolish. You're not going to trade a guy for some 200th ranked prospect in whatever farm system. If there's a good deal, and if Jose Abreu really does love the White Sox and he wants nothing but the best for this team, then the White Sox should 100% deal him. Because at the end of the day, and I had it wrong. I think I replied to you on Twitter, Zoe.
Yep.
That of course you trade him. He can always re-sign.
You bring him back in 2020.
Season. But the same, But even if it's not next year, if it's until 2020, you can do that. It's different than what the Yankees did with Chapman, because that was right after 2016. They brought him back in for 2017. But I mean, the White Sox aren't going to get a top 10 prospect for Abreu just because of the position. There's just too many of those guys. The value isn't the same.
Right.
So my
a
only
good enough prospect. Then bring him back in 2 years. Is Jose Abreu going to be that hurt if he's really all in on the process?
It's just that you miss out on his leadership in a critical developmental time for those young players.
I think that's the only valid argument.
Right.
The leadership he brings, just that presence that he has with all the young guys.
Because if you get rid of him, who do you have as a veteran? Avi?
Yeah.
What pitchers do you have? Well, you have James Shields.
James Shields.
But he's up at the end of next year, I think, or this year.
Then you're talking. Then you get into Tim Anderson, Matt Davidson.
Exactly. And what I was getting at with this, with Rick Renteria is he's dealing with Moncada and Tim Anderson being young and not necessarily knowing how to go about their daily business and get themselves out of slumps. So that's where Abreu comes in.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I mean, I highly doubt that they'll trade him. I mean, I just don't think they'd have the value that they would get. It just doesn't match what he already brings to the table now. But let's say the same thing comes up next year. I mean, you have to consider it more strongly, right? Like, let's say if the White Sox aren't like competing, and it's the same, and the AL Central isn't garbage like it is this year.
I would be more
strongly consider it. Yeah, right.
I would actually consider it next year. Yeah, right? Because next year's the last year of his contract.
Next year would be his last arbitration year, and then he becomes a free agent.
I would think it would be worse next year because next year you have like Eloy up. You'll have a couple more of those young Cuban guys. There'll be way more Cuban kids on the team.
Way more. It's only what are you talking about?
Do you know how many Cubans they got in the farm system?
They're not all going to come up. They're all like 20 years old. So
all coming.
Cuban players.
Yes.
Eloy's not even Cuban.
Eloy is Dominican.
Damn it, you're right. I was thinking about Lou
Eloy's
Bob.
going to be the only like prospect guy coming up that's going to be up next year.
You think so?
Luis Robert.
No, he's got
really
time.
playing in
No,
A-ball.
Luis Robert. Yeah, Luis Robert's got. I know he's ways away, but
Like Blake Rutherford.
he's not Cuban. Blake Rutherford is definitely not a Cuban name.
He's
I don't
got some
know.
time. But I could see it. I would tolerate it next year for him to a team that's like making a serious push for a World Series, knowing
it's
that I
like a
can bring him
desperate
back,
team.
and I'm only losing him for 6 months.
Or not
So-
even. You could wait until the trade deadline. He'll be gone for
You could even
2.5 months.
You,
The
I mean, you could even wait till the waiver deadline if you want to. You
Right.
get nothing back, but
The thing that bothered me with the way that it was worded in the article was that the White Sox owe it to him. That didn't sit with me right because the White Sox have been pretty damn good to Jose Abreu, but Jose Abreu has been pretty damn good to the White Sox. He's not going to get a
The White
Trout
Sox
deal.
kind of undercut him in arbitration.
on his contract
Yeah.
or in his
Not arbitration, but I don't know.
well, I mean,
they did him right by him and his son. They've done a lot for his family too outside of
Yeah, but I mean, that was more talking to like he's been on a shitty team for 4 years. Like,
Right.
hey, give him a chance to compete for a World Series, and then bring him back where he can compete for a World Series with the White Sox too.
and that
He
was
gets
I
best
mean,
of both worlds.
that's a damn good point. When you tweeted that, I was like, shit, that's a pretty damn good point.
Darn it,
Like,
you're right.
as
Like
much
if Jose Abreu loves the White Sox, he's like, you know what,
He
guys,
does.
find the best deal that you can.
I wouldn't be surprised if he actually signed with Miami if he got traded.
Ugh, why would you do that to him?
That's where he lives.
I know, but I mean, I thought the whole point
That
here was
would
to
be
get
the
him in the
White Sox
playoffs.
hating Jose. That
Yeah, I thought the whole
Yeah,
point of
it
this
would
was
be-
to get him in the playoffs.
No, wait, what? To
Isn't the
who
point
in
of
the
this-
playoffs? Oh no.
Jose Abreu.
I'm saying, what do you do too? I mean, if all right, so you're right, Aldo. So if or Zoe, you said the thing that kind of got you all worked up was that they owe it to Jose.
Right.
Jose, I think, feels similar in that he opted out of his contract. He opted out of a lot of guaranteed money. And I mean, he's making more now, and he's still not making what elite first basemen are making.
making peanuts.
Right. What I think it's like 13 and a half. Is
Yeah,
that
that's
right?
like 13. Yeah.
So, and he got a 1.5 boost. If they trade him, and I got to believe that, there's goodwill between Han and the other front office officials where they would give him plenty of notice and kind of feel him out and say, we want to do this. Do you want to do it? Are you okay with it? Because we'd still love to sign you.
Right. And I think they would.
He's not going to do it for a discount. He's going to be like, oh, yeah, I want to be back, but pay me. And we all know that the White Sox don't necessarily get off their wallet.
Yeah, they definitely don't do that. So I don't know. There's a lot to, I guess, take in. You guys both made really good. The leadership, though, is a big thing to me. What he brings to those young guys and the role that we all know, and I'm sure Nick would attest to this, but like the role that Jose has played in recruiting Lou Bob and the developmentation of some of these younger guys and things that, I mean, he's like a second coach almost. He's like it's invaluable to me.
He's the one offensive player that other young players can go to and say, "Hey, how did you get out of slump?"
And he
What
just
did you
rips
do?
doubles. He just rips doubles.
Yeah.
And
The double machine this year.
there was a big article earlier this week how Moncada even said Abreu went up to him and was like, "Bro, you got to be more aggressive.
Mhm.
Like you got to." And the fact that Moncada feels almost honored by the fact that he did that, where he would go to the press and be like, "Yeah, he's saying this to me," that speaks volumes to me too. And the respect that Jose Abreu has in Cuba, on this White Sox team, throughout the entire farm, it's unbelievable. Like the guy just, they look up to him, and it's, I don't know. I don't see.
Are you about to cry, Zach? It sounds like you're about to
Maybe a little bit. It's actually sweat because I'm fat, but I don't know. I don't see him moving him. I think it's just too crucial of a point. But I'll get off that. We're actually coming. We're way over time. So let's do some quick final thoughts here, and let's wrap it up for this week. So Aldo, what do you got?
My final or my closing thought this week is I just want to give a shout out to the White Sox for continuing to copy the Cubs on everything. First, it was from blue seats to green seats, and they changed their batter's eye to green. How the Cubs have their bushes out there, and now the White Sox are celebrating home wins with a smoke machine, like the Cubs have been since 2015. So, gotta follow the cool kids, I guess.
So next thing is just a rebuild into a World Series.
Nope. Next, they're gonna fire Renteria and then hire Mattingly.
Yeah,
boy, here we go.
No, actually, Jose Abreu in 2022 will be the White Sox coach.
Player manager.
Player manager. There you go.
All for it. Nuke, what do you got, bud?
Maybe I'm coming over to the side of bat flips.
Yes. About time. What's gonna give you over the edge?
Steele Walker. Did you guys see that?
Yes.
Aldo, great job with that teaser.
I looked it up. I was like, what could have you been talking about? I just you put it on YouTube, and it's the first 5 videos.
Can we all agree that Steele Walker is just a badass baseball name?
That's a great name.
I forget. There's another draft pick for the Cubs too, and I said about him and for Steele Walker. If baseball never works out, and if they choose to go into the adult film industry, they don't have to change their names. It's perfect.
No, and it still sounds made up, so it works out great. So, final here, shout out to Tim Anderson for embracing White Sox Twitter. With the recent draft, there was talks of Yo-Yo going to short and Tim Anderson playing center field. So TA tweeted out a picture of him jumping at the center field wall. It looks like he's just keeping a soccer ball from going over the fence. But he tweeted out, "Since you all want to see me in center field anyways." And I thought that was great. I thought it was,
and he gave the emoji.
Strong. I hope this isn't one of those tweets that comes back like in 5 years when he's like traded away and he's playing center field for like
bad takes exposed
for the Marlins. It's like, well, you're there.
Yeah, he just becomes D. Gordon.
Yeah, but I thought it was good. He did it in like a playful way, and then. I mean, he went back. He's very active on Twitter, and like there was no bad blood. I think it was just a joke. I mean, he's not blind. He sees what people are tweeting, especially after the draft.
He didn't play today. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm sure it was playful.
No. So
stirring up controversy.
Unless you're the Royals, he means business.
Yes. Well, isn't that Matt Davidson? No, that's the other way around.
I can't believe we didn't say anything about Matt Davidson not hitting a home run in like forever.
We'll save that for next week when he still hasn't
hit a home run.
We don't need to talk about that, dicks.
Matt, you're always welcome on the show.
On that note, yes, Matt.
You call it Trey Matz.
Definitely welcome on the show. He is award-winning because he was the only one in the category. Journalist Matt Anuko. The other guy you see there is Aldo Soto. I am Matt Zawaski. They call me Zoe. This is the Pinwheels and Ivy podcast. I hope you guys watched it. If not, we will be on YouTube. You can watch us make this episode, but you can always download, rate, subscribe, review, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. what's the other? What am I missing?
Pick your
SoundCloud.
poison.
Yeah, just basically anywhere you listen to podcasts. And now,
internet.
that's a good. The internet.
The interweb.
And now you can watch it. So as always, the show is brought to you by Sports Mockery, sportsmockery.com. Go get the app, turn on the notifications, know what's going on before your friends do. So for the boys, this is the Pinwheels and Ivy podcast. Make sure you stay tuned all week to our Twitter feed at Pinwheels Ivy Pod. We'll see you next week.
See ya. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Bryce Harper's